The content you're about to enjoy comes from the archives of The Best You. We're devoted to the very best in personal development. With a magazine and resources dedicated to inspiring and changing people's lives, at The Best You, we work with the world's leading writers and trainers on the evolution of the self, and people whose journeys have been affected by their work and words. For more information, go to www.thebestyou.co. Hey, welcome everyone, and we're on to our next speaker. We've got a phenomenal speaker, someone that is extremely influential, very inspirational, who is working with the biggest thinkers in the industry. He's done a lot of things, and he's a great connector. And pretty much anyone and everyone that's in the industry of personal and professional growth knows Doug Vermereen. So Doug is referred as the modern day Napoleon Hill. Douglas Vermereen shares strategies of how to connect with the highest level achievers and expand your network to grow your business. Very important. And a lot of people underestimate the value of it. His award-winning entrepreneur training programs have been rated among the best in the world. Douglas has authored 3 books in the Guerrilla Marketing series. He's a regular featured expert on Fox, CNN, ABC, NBC, CCTV, and CBC, and others. Well, look, we're very delighted to have Doug here. Doug, how are you?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for having me.
Great. Where are you connecting from?
I'm in Canada today.
You're in Canada today.
Calgary, Alberta.
Brilliant. Well, Doug, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you and what you bring. And the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. Well, I'm excited to be here. First of all, I'm not sure how many people are here with us, but maybe just so I can know that we're all here and engaged and that you can ask questions, maybe just type a quick yes in the chat bar so I can get a chance to kind of see who you are. Maybe also put where you're from. That'd be really cool to see that. Now, as we begin here, I guess a question that I have, we're going to talk a little bit about what we call the 6-minute workday today. We're going to talk a little bit about how to build wealth and income streams. How many in this group are currently interested to learn how to maximize their wealth, to build more wealth, more income, to have their income streams be more passive, to have money flow to them more directly and more immediately? If that's you also, I'm going to invite you to just type yes, just so we can also get a chance to see that you're here. And by the way, I'm going to click on comments so that I can make sure that I can read what you guys are saying. Here we go. Okay, so we've got some destinations won't get comments. Okay, well, we're going to see. I'm not sure if you are doing the comments yet or not, but hopefully you're seeing. And if you're not here live, obviously you're getting the broadcast. I want to kind of begin with a little bit of an introduction so that you know kind of who's teaching you and also where I come from, where my background is, so that you can kind of see that the things that I'm going to share with you today are actually very accessible to you too. It's not just something, in fact, that is way out there that no one can achieve or that someone else can achieve. I want to really make it clear that becoming wealthy and creating income streams really starts with a choice and with seeing a possibility. And it's very important that you recognize that that possibility is available for you too. So here's my background. I actually started from a middle income family. My parents were not wealthy. My father actually worked in construction. My mom babysat kids in the home. And I basically wore hand-me-downs until I was in high school. So my parents didn't have any form of financial freedom at all. They just really didn't have the means that other families do. So I really had an understanding growing up of what poverty was, or what at least lower middle income was. The other thing that we were taught, that probably most of you were taught, is that we needed to trade our time for money. If we're going to become successful at becoming wealthy, we needed to get used to working more. And if you think about it, our society has kind of trained us to believe that since the beginning. That's why we use such terms as working overtime, working for minimum wage. In other words, the time is equating a certain amount of money in exchange. We've also been told about things like the 40-hour work week and these kinds of things. And so we've really all kind of been trained that that's the way that money is made. And that's how I was raised. So hopefully you can see that you and I have a lot in common. I didn't start with a lot of wealth, and I certainly didn't start with a lot of advantages in terms of understanding money. So what happened to me is when I was about 19 years old, someone gave me a copy of the book, Think and Grow Rich. And if you've heard of it, just type yes in the chat column there. For those who haven't heard of it, let me just give you a quick little rundown. The book Think and Grow Rich was written by a gentleman named Napoleon Hill, and it was written in the 1930s. And in order to write that book, he went out and he interviewed more than 400 of the world's top achievers in his day. Now, when I read the book, I was really impressed with some of the stories about how people like Thomas Edison gained their success and in their wealth, Henry Ford, the Rockefellers, the Wrigleys, and so many others, Andrew Carnegie, and the list went on. And as I was reading the book, I'll be honest with you, I kind of became a little bit jealous. When I read it, yes, I was very inspired, and I knew that idea, if you believe it, you can achieve it. And I understood that was true, but I really understood that what Napoleon Hill did to gain the truest form of success was to actually go out and meet with the world's top achievers. Now, you know, of course, that you've heard this saying that says that we become like the 5 people that we spend the most time with. And at the time, I wasn't spending time with a lot of really high-level thinkers. I wasn't spending time with people that believed in greater possibilities. And so as a result, my results were average, right? I was experiencing what most people do, paycheck to paycheck, living in the rat race, trying to make a grind of it, trying desperately to make things work. And that wasn't really working for me at the time. Again, if you've had that experience, just either nod your head or write a quick yes in the chat bar. Perhaps you've also invested a lot of effort and time along the way in your life to get further ahead than you thought you might be at this present time. And right now, you know, you might be looking back saying you've been giving it a hard try the whole time. You've been grinding it out. You've been working hard. You've been putting in the hours, but the results just haven't been coming. So I experienced the same thing. And the thing that changed for me, everything, was that I went out and I started again spending time with some of the world's top achievers. I had a chance to spend some time with some of the biggest business leaders in the world, as Bernardo talked at the beginning of this, some of the largest personal development people in the world. And what happened to me was as I began to spend time with millionaires, multi-millionaires, and billionaires, my point of view and my perspective on generating wealth changed. Now, what's interesting is since that time, and by the way, as a 19-year-old, I was under the mentorship of some of those top achievers, I was able to generate $1.6 million in my first 6 months under their mentorship. For those of you who've got a calculator and you're doing the math on that, that means that I did approximately, well, just a little bit over $9,000 a day for 180 days straight. Again, that's $1.6 million. So I learned a lot about how to make money, but even more importantly, how to do it without doing the trade, so that I had to be present and I was in the rat race and giving my time. So maybe one thing that you might want to write down as we get started is that, yes, I want you to become rich financially, but rich financially doesn't really do a lot of good unless you're also abundant with your time, the ability to enjoy it. And so I think it's a really important part of the equation is that money and time are the definition of rich, not just money, right? So kind of what happened to me is people started inviting me to come out and speak about what I learned with the world's top achievers. And, people would ask me, for example, what did Richard Branson teach you? What did you learn from someone like Oprah Winfrey? What did you learn from Donald Trump, right? Like people like that. And so as I began to teach this, many of my students began to implement some of the same money strategies that I had learned under the mentorship of these top achievers. And interestingly enough, here we are now, fast forward to today. Money Magazine has now rated me as the #1 passive income coach in the world. In fact, if you Google #1 passive income coach, even if you do it right now in a separate window, you'll see my picture comes up. And it's interesting because I was very curious, how did they come up with me as the #1 passive income coach? And this is important for you to understand. When I asked them this, I said, what made me #1? They said that we took a look at not necessarily the teachings that everyone was doing, but the results that the students were getting. And when they took a look at me, they found that I had the highest number of students, 72.8%, that were able to generate $10,000 or more per month. Right? Now, again, I'm not here to criticize any of the other teachers. There's a lot of great people out there teaching wealth, teaching real estate, teaching, stock market and Forex trading and all these amazing things. But I was very curious. When I talked to Money Magazine, I said, I'm doing 72.8%. And I want you to imagine that. Okay. So we've got a seminar room. There's 100 people in it. And if I said those in my students that have made 10K or more, please stay standing. The rest of you sit down. That means that out of that group of 100, 72 would stay standing tall, right? Now, again, I asked, what did the group behind me do? The next one, number 2, what were they able to do? And the thing that was astonishing to me is that they were as high as 9%. That was the closest one behind me. And I think the reason isn't just because of me, right? And this is important that you understand this. It really comes down to how you learn to become wealthy. And it sort of reminds me of a story maybe that I should tell you here right off the bat. When I was first starting to do my how should we call it, my expedition into wealth, my desire to create wealth in my life, when I started seeing that it was possible for me and I believed I could do it, I'll never forget, I met with a friend of mine who at the time was worth about $300 million. And I brought with me an idea for a business that I wanted to start. And as I sat down with Ryan across the table, I started asking questions like, how should I find my customers? Right? Good question, right? How should I do my marketing? Right? How should I grow geographically? Right? How should I get the right product? How should I get it into their hands? How should I do my collections? And I was talking about a lot of the business activities that most of you are engaged in. And it was interesting that as I asked these, how should I do this? How should I do that questions? Ryan stopped me and he said, I can tell you're going to start a very small company. And I was a little bit offended. What do you mean a small company? I don't think anybody, even you in the audience, your intention is not to start a small company. You want to start a company that's big, something that's, got size to it, right? And I was a little bit offended. But again, he paused and he said, no, you're going to start a small company. So I said, what do you mean? Teach me. I'm curious. Why do you say that? And he said, well, it's really because you're asking selfish questions. You see, I was asking questions like, how should I? How can I? How must I? What is the next step for me to do? Right? And he said that is the sign of a small company. He says, if you want to build something big, whether it's a company or your own personal wealth or whatever it is that you're looking to achieve, he said, you need to start asking who questions. Who can help you? Who can help you? Who can help? Right? And the questions that he said that I should be asking were like this. He said, I should be asking now, who has my customers? Who has my marketing abilities or can market my company? Who knows my demographics? Who can help me geographically? Who could be my affiliates and so forth? And the minute that I began to recognize that there's a lie that we've been taught also about money and also about success. You've probably heard it said that if it's up to me or if it's meant to be, it's up to me. Well, that's a big lie. The truth is nothing great was ever accomplished by a single individual. It was always done by a team. And we can see that actually throughout the history of the world. In fact, if you look at even when Sir Edmund Hillary climbed Mount Everest, he was the first one to do that. He actually had a team that was with him. Or when Neil Armstrong walked on the moon for the first time, he actually had people back in Houston who were guiding the rocket at mission control, people who had designed the rocket and built it and helped him get it up. We also look at even an Olympic athlete who stands on the podium and gets a gold medal. He didn't do that by himself. He's got coaches and teammates and nutritionists and sponsors and other people who help him get there. So here's something that's very interesting. If we talk about wealth for a moment, maybe in the past you said something like, I try so hard to become wealthy. I work hard in my business. I do the things that I'm supposed to. I save my money well. I do my investing. I do all these kinds of things. Why isn't it coming together for me? One of the biggest reasons why is you're trying to do it by yourself.
For complimentary resources from my book, my complimentary e-course, The Power of the Question, or recommended reads, go to www.thequestion.com/resources. For more information on my coaching or mentoring, go to www.bernardo-moya.com.
The fastest way to grow wealth is to get the right people helping you and supporting you and opening doors for you and teaching you and showing you the opportunities that are there. Now, the fun thing about this idea of, who can help me, that I think is really important, is you've heard it said that your network becomes your net worth. And I'll be honest with you, my experience is that's actually step 2, right? So if we're saying that my network is my net worth, let's just maybe write here, net worth, that's number 2. The first step is to recognize that your network is actually your safety net, right? And so you get paid and rewarded based on the problems that you can solve. You've heard that before, right? We get compensated in order or in relation to the value that we contribute. But I think the important thing to remember, before it becomes net worth, we have to have support to be able to solve bigger problems. And the bigger problems that you can solve, the more money you're going to gain. So this is one of the things that I'd like to share right now is I grew my wealth. Now I'm doing just over $14 million in passive income every single year. I don't have a job, but I didn't do it by myself. I did it with support. I did it by learning how those income streams are to be built, right? Now, let me ask this. If you had someone helping you, do you think that you could do it too? If you had a millionaire or a multimillionaire helping you, do you think you could do it too? Well, of course, because it kind of comes to that analogy, where they say money is kind of just like making cupcakes. Once you have the recipe, you can make as many cupcakes as you'd like. And that's what I sought out when I was a young man, is what is the real recipe? How can I do it myself? How can I build greater forms of wealth? And the first lesson is with support. You have to have the right people in your corner helping you. And I guess, another way to look at that is you've heard it said, what's the easier thing to make, your first million or your second million? Well, most people would say your second, because once you've done once, you kind of know what to expect. You know the pitfalls, you know the challenges that will be in the way. So then why not get someone who's built their first million to help you build your first million so that you can have all the support to get through? It's kind of like this idea, if you can imagine a field full of landmines, right? Landmines that when you step in, they go kaboom. What would you rather have? Would you rather try and kind of like feel your way yourself with your best efforts and experience to get through? Well, chances are you're going to step on a landmine. The other thing that a lot of people do is they grab a book or quickly attend, an instant seminar, and they try to do it with the book in hand, trying to get through. And that's good. It's better. But wouldn't the best be to actually have somebody take you by the arm, somebody who knows the way, and guide you through from beginning to end? I think that that's the strongest. I think we all can agree. And that's how I did it. I made sure that I had mentors helping me one-on-one to get to my wealth directly on the other side of those pitfalls and the landmines. Now, I want to talk a little bit as we get into how your wealth is going to arrive. And I want to share some ideas, especially around this idea of the 6-minute workday. Right now, like I said, I'm generating over $14 million per year. On average, I spend about 6 minutes each day managing it, growing it, dealing with it, and working with other people. But it doesn't start that way. In the beginning, there will be efforts and there will be things that you'll have to lay down and that you'll have to do. But one of the things I think that we need to understand in the beginning is a little bit about the idea of money coming into your life. Now, I'm a big fan of things like the law of attraction. In fact, this poster here is from my latest movie that just came out called How Thoughts Become Things. And I know with the Best You EXPO, we're going to be showing that movie throughout the course of this event. And we've also got several speakers from that film who are going to be on the panels talking about this event. The film features many of the greatest in thought leadership. My buddies like Bob Proctor and Dennis Waitley and John DeMartini, Joe Vitale, John Ossoff, Marie Diamond, Bob Doyle, and many others. But there's a lot of things that are missing about the law of attraction, especially when it comes to money. You see, many people think that what they just need to do if they want to have money come in is simply to meditate and put the energy out there and feel really good about money, and then checks will start to flow in. And I think that some of the materials out there from the law of attraction that have been available thus far have kind of set us up to believe that. But what I want to share and maybe have you think about first is that we need to, if we look at it this way, you've got your house, and the money is a car, you need to have actually a road that leads to your house in order for the car to arrive at the house. So we need to set up, if you will, some roads that will bring what we want to our doorstep. And this is kind of the disconnect that a lot of people have when it comes to the law of attraction. They don't know how to set up that road. So I want to talk a little bit about those roads. And the truth is there's really two mechanisms for those roads, two ways that money will arrive in your life. And when we understand these two ways, we can suddenly start generating money. So the two ways are this. Number one is what we call an event, money events. Now, a good way to describe an event would be, for example, let's say that you've got a real estate property that sells and you get a really big check. That's an event. Let's say also another example of an event would be if you win the lottery. That's one big time event, right? Or maybe you've got a relative that passes away and leaves you a great inheritance. That's another event. Another event could be, again, you get a bonus at work or your tax returns, right? These are all one-time things. Now, most people expect with manifestation and the law of attraction, how money appears is that it will come in an event. Someone will just hand you some cash. And yes, that happens sometimes. But the problem is we can't build our financial freedom and our financial future on an event. Events are very rare. They're also unpredictable. And if we base our financial future and our financial freedom on that, they're very risky. And so events are unpredictable. The other way that money arrives is what we call a stream. And you've heard this word before many times where people talk about creating multiple streams of income. This is actually a much more secure way, and it's something that's often more predictable. So let me just share an example of an income stream. So if you own a property, like a physical property that you can rent out, well, that monthly rent becomes a predictable stream. You know that how often it's going to arrive, and you also generally know how much money it's going to generate. And as long as you maintain that and the renter stays there and so forth, you can count on that stream to occur again and again. So one thing that's really important to point out is just that there is a lot of risk that's with an event, but here it's a very stable thing when you have streams. One of the analogies that I like to use that I think is very important to think about is think about like kind of blood coming into your heart, right? If your heart with an event bumped into your life, just a ton of blood every 6 months. It doesn't really matter how much blood is there. Once every 6 months is not going to be enough to keep you alive. However, with a stream, something that comes regularly, we often can do much better in life if we've got a regular amount that comes on a regular basis. So what we really want to create is a stream. Now, of course, we will accept events as they appear again, but streams is the key. We want to create as many streams as we can. And I often look at it this way, is that, most people understand this idea of streams. And for most people, their income stream is a job, right? So you go in and you put a certain amount of hours in, and the stream is that every 2 weeks or every month, you're getting an income that's coming in. Well, the challenge with a single stream, and also one that's attached to your time and your trade, is that it's a very fragile stream. And as most of you have noticed in this COVID situation, that if your company has to downsize or maybe streamline, you can quickly become redundant and your income stream can disappear in a hurry. So I'm a big component of not walking on a tight wire, right? One stream, walking and balancing on a tight wire for our income. But I believe creating multiple streams that overlap and create much more security. You've probably also heard it said that the average millionaire has 7 income streams. Now I want to suggest that I know, and even in my own life, I have a lot more than 7. And I know some people who aren't the millionaire that have actually less than 7. But I'm going to suggest that idea of 7 is a good place to start. I'm going to encourage you, in fact, to build more. The more, the better. The more you have, more security. Now, again, type yes if you'd like to learn how to build some income streams, because that's kind of what we're really going to spend some time talking about. And the truth of the matter is this is much easier and accessible than most people believe possible. In fact, one of the things that's very exciting today is that there's a lot of opportunities to, in fact, build income streams using technology or automation or delegation. In fact, there's some really great tools that are available for us to be able to do that without having to consistently be engaged in the trade. So again, type yes if you'd like to learn how to build more income streams. Even if you have a job, would you like to have additional income streams on top of any of the things that are coming in? Even if you've got real estate right now or investments or other things, would you like to have additional income streams? I believe yes. Now, let me share also, while we're on the subject of income streams, there are different kinds of income streams. And there's really 5 pillars where all money will arrive from in a form of a stream or an event. And when we understand these 5, it makes it easier. And one of these 5, by the way, you might even be engaged in already. And if you're not, there might be one that appeals to you, that seems like it would be interesting for you. So let me share with you what the 5 are. These are the 5 areas, again, where all money is made. They're either made in a business, real estate, investment, intellectual property, meaning your ideas. And by the way, I know with the Best You, there are a lot of people in the audience right now that are speakers, coaches, trainers, people that sell information, right? So intellectual property might be the one that you want to learn how to exploit and build streams out of. Just to kind of share with you, some of you may or may not know, I'm the producer of 3 of the top 10 personal development movies. My very, very first film was called The Opus, right? Some of you might know that. It has like Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen and a lot of these gangs, Marcy Shimoff and others. And the thing about this film that was interesting is it was made in 2008, right? So what's that? Goodness sakes, that's like 12 years ago, right? Well, the cool thing is it still pays me an income stream even today, even now. Every week I still get money based on this project. So for those of you who are coaches and speakers, how many would like to be able to create income streams based on your intellectual property, your ideas, your teachings, and still get paid on that more than a decade later, that you're still making money? And then naturally, if you were able to do that in streams with multiple of them, you can imagine decades later, you've got multiple streams that are paying you. So that's intellectual property. And the last one is networks, right? How are our connections providing income streams and opportunities for us? So we're going to talk a little bit about that as we go. But that's what we're trying to build. Now, before we get too far along this, I want to share something very interesting that's often misunderstood, a difference between building our net worth and building something that's going to change our life. Because the truth of the matter is while your net worth is important, it's secondary to your lifestyle. Right? In other words, if you've got a really high net worth on paper, it's not going to change your immediate lifestyle. Let me just share maybe a way to illustrate that. The banks actually recognize that there's 3 kinds of millionaires. They actually list them like this, ALC. These are the 3 kinds of millionaires that there are today. The first one is what we call an asset millionaire. And this is mostly associated with net worth, as I'm talking about. So what I mean by that is that on paper, you might be a millionaire, right? You've got, the real estate to demonstrate it. You've got the investments on paper to do it. You've got 401k or the RSP or wherever it is that you live. And on paper, you look like a millionaire. But there's 2 problems with that. One, if you come into a restaurant and you say, serve me, right? Help me. Well, they look at this paper and they say, it doesn't do me any good at the restaurant, right? It's just a piece of paper. So you need cash to pay. The paper doesn't change your lifestyle. But the other thing about which many of us noticed during COVID and at other times is that something's market value can actually diminish dramatically based on what's going on in the marketplace. In fact, even myself during COVID, I did lose money on some of my investments, but thank goodness it's returning because I'm involved for the long term. So some of you might have had the same. In fact, some markets dropped as much as 40% during the beginning of COVID. So we need to understand that assets as a form of an income stream are very, very risky, and that's not what we want to do. The next kind of millionaire is what we call a liabilities millionaire. That basically just means that you can borrow up to $1 million. And many of us, will easily qualify for that. But the problem is this isn't your money. So I don't want to focus on the liabilities. We'll talk later about what's the difference between good debt and bad debt. And as you join us in the Income Stream Challenge, I'll show you how to use your liabilities to build wealth and the sequence and order in which you should do that. The last kind of millionaire is what we call cash flow. Cash flow is what you really want to learn how to build because this is the one that changes your life experience. And just so you know, for interest sake, to become a millionaire, it's $2,739 a day, $114 a minute, or an hour, or $110 or $1.10 per minute. Okay, so this is per day, this is per hour, and this is per minute. So one of the things that's interesting is you need to ask yourself, where are you? If your goal is to become a millionaire, whereabouts are you? Now, something that's interesting is I just want to share with you a little bit about some of the students that work with me right now. As you know, most likely, you probably understand, many of them don't start at $2,739, meaning their first day out, they don't generate $2,739. Let's be honest, they don't. But I do have many that come out and at the beginning end up doing $500 per month immediately. $500 per month. It may not sound like a lot, but I want to put it in perspective. What is $500 a month? Well, my friends, it's essentially a lease payment on a brand new BMW. So for joining me in something like the Income Stream Challenge, you'd be walking away with a brand new car. Type yes if it's something that you think that would be pretty cool. Now, the interesting thing is like I said, making money is like making cupcakes. So once you learn how to do it monthly, do you think it's possible that you can learn how to do it weekly? And the answer is yes. Once you master it monthly, you can multiply that and start to do it weekly, which is really cool. Now, I want you to think about what weekly does. Weekly, if you think about it, $500 every single week out of every month, that's roughly $2,000 a month that you're going to learn how to make. Now, the cool thing about that is that's basically the mortgage on a property, right? So in other words, by learning how to do this, you will be able to have an additional property that you can rent out. And obviously that will compound on itself, right? But the cool thing is we don't have to stop at a week. In fact, we can actually even learn how now to start doing this per day. And I have many of my students who are doing this. Now, here's the thing I want you to think about. Think about how much money you've spent today. For most of you, it wouldn't be very much. Maybe you bought a coffee. Maybe you've, put gas in your car. Maybe you've, bought yourself a nice little lunch or even a small present. Most likely that was under $500. So if you could learn how to do an additional $500 a day, well, that's a lifestyle change. That's a complete shift. That's a complete change from where you are now. So would it be okay if I shared with you how you can start learning this?
For more information on collaborating, partnering, sponsoring, supporting, or speaking at any of our events or finding out more about our legacy clubs, go to www.thebestyou.co. If you're interested in finding out more about the amazing content we have, please go to www.thebestyou.online and get your 14-day free trial now.
We've got a really cool group coaching that we do every single week called the Income Stream Challenge. In this weekly challenge that happens, and I'm just going to maybe put here that it's weekly, okay? We actually get on a Zoom call, very similar to this, where we show you step by step how to build income streams in each of those 5 areas that we talked about: business, real estate, investment, intellectual properties, and with your network. We show you step by step how you'll be doing that. Again, every single Wednesday. And the cool thing is, by the way, is if you happen to miss one of those training sessions, we actually record them and put them in a vault so that you can have access to them at any time. Now, I know some of you already get started, and that makes a lot of sense for you to go ahead and start that. But I want to give you a couple of really cool tools that are going to help you to become even more successful. One of the things that we put in that portal as well is we introduce something called the Income Stream Insights. And this is, again, something very powerful, a powerful tool. You'll remember in the beginning, I talked about how I interviewed more than 400 of the world's top achievers. Well, while I was meeting with those millionaires and billionaires, I had the chance to ask them all kinds of questions about money. In fact, I'm still even meeting with them. So there's things that are current, recent, relevant that will help you about money. Now, the interesting thing about these audios is that they're in the membership vault, and generally they're worth about $100 per one, okay, is what they are. But I'd like to gift them to you, and you're going to kind of see how this will come together here in a moment. Now, one of the other things that's kind of interesting that I'd like to do is in the group coaching, I'm actually going to bring some of these people that taught me these things directly in. So you're going to have direct access to millionaires and billionaires who are going to show you how they built their money in those exact streams. Now, last week, we actually had a real estate investor in who actually went from a corporate job working at a bank, and she built a very high level, multi-million dollar real estate company where she does kind of like HMOs for those of you in the UK, or home shares, it's often called, where basically she would take a property and section it. So rather than renting the property to a single individual, there would be people within that would basically be roommates, and they would each be paying rent. And inside of 2 years, she built a business that was worth over $3 million in real estate, right? So you're going to get access to those interviews that are there. Now, the interesting thing is you've heard this idea of let's take a millionaire or a billionaire out to lunch. I like that idea too, right? But the challenge is by taking them out to lunch, you only get one visit, right? And to build wealth, my experience has shown is that it really takes a relationship, not a simple visit and a handshake and a couple quick pointers. You really need to have that ongoing relationship. So we do these interviews regularly. Every third week in this challenge, we have those come in. So let's just say that it was you taking the billionaire to lunch. Let's just call that $20, okay? That's a $20 lunch, right? I hope you're going to spend more on their lunch, but let's call it on the easy side. Now, a few other things that we're going to do too is I've got some really cool tools that I've built, some audios, one of them called the 3 Most Expensive Things. I've got one that's called 3 Things That a Billionaire Taught Me That Will Make You Rich. We've got another one on 10 Keys to Take Your Business to Over $1 million and so forth. And so there's about 8 or 9 different audios that are in there that you'll listen to that will take you to a high level in making your money. They're all calculated and designed to help you open up a money possibility for you. When you see these, you're going to be completely delighted because, again, these are real practical results. In fact, one of them came directly from some time that I spent on Fox Business talking and teaching this there. The interesting thing is these audios, what we found with the 8 of them, it's generally worth about $1,200. So as you can see so far, this package, you've got the weekly group coaching, which I didn't put a price on. You've got, a $100 bonus that you're getting here, an additional $20 and a $1,200 product. So we're already up to about $1,320, which is pretty good. One of the things that I also found that a lot of people find that keeps them from creating wealth is an incorrect understanding on how money is manifested. So I'd like to give you one of my brand new books that I've just written called The Truth About Manifesting Money. Okay, The Truth About Manifesting. And I'm just going to put man and an S here. I'd like to give you that too. So that's another $30 that I'd like to give to you that you'll be able to have in there. And then we've also got something brand new that just came out called the Power Pack. It's got 100 thoughts for prosperity, 100 powerful questions that you need to ask for prosperity, and also how to beat the excuse list. So I'm going to also give that to you. I'm just going to call it the 100 pack. And that one right now also is going for about $500. So if we do the math really quickly here, we've got 120, there's 1320, 1350, and now you've got 1850 worth of material that I'm going to give you. But you know what? I'm actually not going to stop there. I've got some other things that have been really valuable for our students. As Bernardo kind of mentioned in the very beginning of this presentation, I'm known for being the producer on the top 4 now personal development films. We've got How Thoughts Become Things, which you're going to see at this event. But I'm also the producer and director of the film The Opus. I'm also the producer and director of the film, which some of you may have also seen, The Gratitude Experiment, and also a film called The Treasure Map, which talks about the mindset of money. The tools that you need up here to be able to set your standards at the level that will allow you to have wealth. It's interesting that so I'm going to gift you these, but I'm also going to gift you something else. But before I maybe share that, I want to share that there's really 2 things that you're going to need for success. One of them is the correct strategy, which I'm going to be able to give you. You're going to see how I built my own multi-million-dollar life. My freedom, remember, to keep my time at the same time as keeping my money. But the thing that most people don't understand, if you have the strategy, you've got to have the other part too, which is what I call the commitment, the willingness factor. You see, it doesn't really do any good to give someone material if they're not prepared to do anything with it. So this stuff will help you to develop that willingness, that confidence in yourself, and the belief that you can do it too. I'd also like to gift you a few other things. I'm going to give you an audio CD called 5 Essentials to Becoming a Money Magnet. You're going to get something called Millionaire Wisdom. You're going to get one of my first books called Accelerated Achievement, which shares a lot of tricks and strategies that the top achievers shared me. And recently I was on television. For those of you in Canada, you might know CTV2. CTV is the national station across Canada. But I did a program there called, let's make sure I don't have the glare on it. It's called Create Wealth Today. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'm also going to give you, again, this pack of bonuses, which will come to you in the regular mail. So let me just add that as additional bonuses. And that's, again, an additional $500. Now, if we do the math again, so that's $23.50 worth of materials that I'm going to share with you. I've got a really special offer for today, and I'd like to make this easy for you with a no-risk opportunity. I want you to be successful. And one of the reasons I'd like to share this with you and that I'm going to do this deal and give you all of these materials here is the one thing that I need right now, okay? Because this is a fair exchange of value. I want to make sure that you're taken care of, but I also want to take care of our interests on our end, right? It's okay to get paid. But I really need some success stories with this material for the online component. You see, we do a lot live, and I've got a lot of students who've been very successful with the live application of this. But with COVID and the changes that are made, I want to prove that my stuff still works in a COVID environment and with an online curriculum, with an online support, that we can do it through Zoom calls, and that even while you're at home and business isn't as normal, that you can still generate thousands and thousands of dollars. You can create income streams without having what we used to have, right? The new normal. This is it, the new normal. So what I'd like to do for the first 100 that join us, I'm going to drop the price for all of this to only $9 a week. You can cancel at any time if it's not performing for you. Where you need to go, and maybe I could have Tony please put the ticker across the bottom. Where you need to go if you'd like to take advantage of this offer is to head over to the incomestreamchallenge.com. You'll see it just across the bottom. Maybe keep that running. incomestreamchallenge.com. And for only $9, you'll have immediate access to all of these tools that are there. And naturally, you'll get an email from me directly asking for your mailing address, and we're going to send these materials out to you. Now, something that's interesting and please keep that ticker running. Something interesting as we look at this, I mean, $9 is the equivalent of basically taking me for a very cheap lunch or maybe a coffee at Starbucks. So you've heard the idea before of taking a millionaire out to lunch. And I'd like to invite you to be in a regular ongoing relationship with myself and my network to be able to help you with all the support that you're going to need to grow your lunch. And I want you, or to grow your million, which will grow your lunch. I want you to think, if all this stuff, if all it even did was give you the insights on how to build one single income stream, it would certainly pay for itself at $9. I mean, you can't get a better deal than this. It's a no-brainer. And of course, you've got our guarantee that if it doesn't support you, you can quit at any time. So there's really no reason why you wouldn't do this. I want to remind you again that Money Magazine looked at all of the programs that were in the world today, and they found that I had the highest success rate. And I believe the reason why we have the highest success rate is because not only do we have the best tools, but we've got all the pieces. We don't leave anything covered up or veiled. Everything that you're going to need to create the wealth in the future that you want to experience can be created now. And before you receive the fruits, which is the money, you need to build the roots. Now, here's the cool thing about this is we're also going to show you not just how to build the income streams, but how to make them passive. You see, that's what I'm really a pro in. How do you make it so that you're not having to inject or continually inject the time again and again to make your money? And if you're not learning how to do it passive, it's almost like you're starting again every month, right? We've got to build it so it's passive. In fact, that's one of the big differences between a money manager and a money strategist, is that a money manager basically takes the cash that comes in and the bills that are, they match them up. And when they've done that, mission accomplished in their mind. But a money strategist is someone who takes the money that comes in, they do pay the bills, but now they understand what to do next so that next 30-day cycle that they're going to be part of is easier and that it's more carefree and they've got now more freedom. Again, my definition of wealth is not just becoming rich, it's becoming rich with money and time. I want you to be able to have your time back. One of the greatest blessings in my life is that I get to spend a lot of time with my family. I've got 3 grandkids now. And even through COVID, we really haven't had to worry. We've been able to help our family members. We've been able to help people get through this. And I want to help you. I want you to be one of my success stories. And I want you to be trained in such a way that you can help others. that when your cash flow is coming in an income stream, that your lifestyle is taken care of. It's really interesting to think about that we are on the edge of the future right now. This is the way the future is going to be. People are not going to be trading time for money in the rat race in the same way that it was done in the past. That's behind us. Everything's been reinvented now. So now is the time to learn how to create these income streams. So again, with my last minute, I'm just going to share with you, come and join my successful students that have been able to do this as well. You're going to meet many of them in the group. Another thing that we're going to do is we're going to include you in a free Facebook group where it's a community where you can get additional tools to support you every day of the week, all the time, and you'll be able to hear what others have done. And it's a really great collaborative community that's here to support you in growing your wealth. So again, best investment there is, $9. It's not a lot of money. There's very little risk for you. And as I mentioned, it's completely able to cancel at any time if it's not a good fit for you. But I can promise you, we haven't had any cancellations at all yet. You probably won't be the first one. You will be delighted and we'll help you make some income. My name is Doug Vermereen. It's been really good to be with you. I'm so excited to see your success. So come and join us. And we'll help you to build the future that you want, you deserve, and help you start making some income. So I think I'm supposed to be finishing in 3 seconds. So again, thank you, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you very much, Doug. You're still good for a few more minutes, but anyway, thank you so much. You provide so much always, and I say that with a lot of the things that you do, you walk your talk, and with a lot of the content that you have produced over the years, which a lot of speakers, authors, and producers could only dream of. It's just a great position to be in. So there's no doubt that you obviously come from a place of knowledge. So look, we will obviously continue to share your recording not only today but through the TV channel. And I'm sure over the weeks and months we'll get more people to connect with you. But Doug, thank you so much for your time and your generosity.
Thank you for having me, and always a pleasure to serve you guys. Best You EXPO. Keep going. You guys are awesome.
Thank you so much. Take care. Have a great day.
For more information, go to www.thebestyou.co.